When Jadakiss heard that, he wanted to go grab his gun and wanted to confront y'all.
But that's the reaction you want, though.
Can't with Kiss, I mean that. Had to stop eating red meat cause I ate too many.
I'm about to sun kiss like a soda and make J to the moi. Put his lips on his knot.
I seen it coming from you too, man, where you said that you would have shot Jay and Hove at that time. That's how real it was.
Definitely. But I'm pretty sure Beans would have shot me also.
The beef between Beanie Sigel and Jadakiss was so intense and legendary that it got dangerously real. So much so that Styles P once said he would have shot Beanie and his crew if it came down to it. That's how wild things got.
I seen it coming from you too, man, where you said that you would have shot Jay and Hove at that time. That's how real it was.
Definitely.
Let's dive in. So in an interview with Vlad TV, Beanie Sigel broke down how things almost got out of hand between him and Jadakiss, specifically after that infamous 2002 freestyle that took direct shots at the Low X. Sheek Louch had already shared his side of the story with Vlad, saying that Jadakiss was so heated after hearing the freestyle, he grabbed his gun and was ready to pull up to Hot 97 to settle it face to face.
When Jadakiss heard that, he wanted to go grab his gun and wanted to confront y'all.
Absolutely, dog. No, that's how that, because they had him aggravated.
According to Beanie, that's exactly the kind of reaction his crew wanted. Coming out of Philly, State Property felt like they had something to prove to their New York rivals, and Funk Flex definitely didn't help calm things down. He actually encouraged Beanie, Freeway, and the rest of State Property to go all in on the freestyle.
Flex.
Yeah.
Kill him. But that's the reaction you want, though.
Yeah.
That was like
we got it. Right, because I remember
you can't rattle those.
The freestyle session was brutal. It aired on Hot 97 in 2002 and had State Property ripping through the LOX over classic beats like G-Dep's Special Delivery, Mobb Deep's The Learning Burn, and Jay-Z's Jigga My Dude. That freestyle really lit the match, taking the Rockefeller versus LOX beef to a whole new level, with Beanie and Jada leading the charge for their camps. How it started. But how did all this even start? Jadakiss, repping Yonkers, New York, came up in the early 90s and eventually formed the LOX with Styles P and Sheek Louch. They signed to Bad Boy Records and dropped their debut Money, Power, and Respect in '98. A year later, they left Bad Boy and joined Rough Riders. By 2000, they dropped their second album We Are the Streets, and Jada started focusing on his solo career. Meanwhile, Beanie Sigel out of Philly also came up in the 90s. In '98, he signed to Jay-Z's Rockefeller Records and quickly became one of the label's standout artists. That same year, both Beanie and Jadakiss landed on Jay-Z's Reservoir Dogs off the Vol 2 Hard Knock Life album. At that point, Beanie and Jada were actually cool, but according to Jada, Styles P threw shots at Jay-Z on that very track, because apparently, Hov had been disrespectful to the group. That jab planted the first seeds of tension between the Low X and Rockefeller, and from there, it only got worse.
Styles P was still tight over feeling like Jay made us come to the studio with all of our big luggage. So when Styles rapped,
about your album.
I don't give a who you are. So
the next year, on January 26, 1999, Foxy Brown dropped her album China Doll, and one of the tracks on it was 456, featuring Memphis Bleek and Beanie Sigel. In his verse, Beanie actually gave a shout out to the LOX, which made everyone think things were cool between them. But that peace didn't last long. Turns out the real spark behind the beef wasn't Beanie or Jada, it was Jay-Z. In the late 90s, Jay was busy building a powerhouse at Rockefeller, signing talent like Bleek, Beanie, and others. Meanwhile, Jadakiss was heating up over at Rough Riders, and he was quickly being seen as a serious threat to Jay-Z's position in the game. At that point, nobody wanted smoke with Jada, not in the streets, and definitely not on the mic. But Jay-Z wasn't just anybody. To make things even messier, Jay and Rough Riders boss DMX were tight, but even their friendship had some tension bubbling underneath. Then on January 25, 2000, the LOX dropped We Are the Streets, and on the track Blood Pressure, Jada seemed to throw some subliminal shots Beanie's way, basically calling him out in a roundabout way while talking to Jay. He rapped, "How you think you're man hard with son on my D? Cause I could get his bodied plus front him a brick."
How you think your man hard when son on my cause I could get his body plus front him.
That line was cold, and Jay-Z, being super competitive, wasn't about to let that slide. So he started making some chess moves. On the same We Are the Streets album, Styles P had a solo track called Felony Dudes, where he sent shots right back at Jay. He even referenced Jay's line from Where I'm From, where Hov called himself, Nas, and Biggie the top 3. Styles flipped it, saying there were 6 top rappers, basically throwing the Lox into that mix. Fast forward a few months to April 11th, 2000, Maya dropped The Best of Me with Jadakiss featured. The song charted at number 50 on Billboard. Later that summer, Jay-Z came through with the remix, The Best of Me Part 2, and it looked like a move to outshine Jada. Jadakiss didn't think much of it at the time, just saw it as friendly competition. But then 2001 came, and that's when things really popped off. On February 27, 2001, DJ Clue dropped The Professional 2. One of the standout tracks was Fantastic 4 Part 2, featuring the LOX. On that song, Styles P threw more subliminal shots at Beanie, basically saying his bars shouldn't even be compared to Beans. And he even mocked the hook from Beanie's track What Ya Life Like. And it didn't stop there. That same year, R. Kelly had a remix lined up for his hit Fiesta, and Jadakiss was originally on it. But Jay-Z swooped in, got on the final version, and pushed Jada off the track. When the remix officially dropped on May 15, 2001, it featured Jay, Boo, and Gotti. No Jada in sight. To make matters worse, Jay threw a jab at Jada on the remix with the line, after the Belv, then it's probably Chris, and after the original, it's probably this.
After the Belvy, then it's probably Chris, and after the original, it's probably this.
According to Beanie Sigel himself, that was the moment when the beef between Rockefeller and the LOX officially kicked off. By the summer of 2001, Beanie Sigel officially jumped into the beef to show where his loyalty stood with Jay-Z and Rockefeller. On June 26th, he dropped his second album, The Reason, and on the track Beanie Mac B, he allegedly took a jab at Jadakiss, mocking his car with the line, I sit 430 deep in wheels, you bout 40-30 cheap in wheels, small Benz.
I sit 430 deep in wheels, you about 430 cheap in wheels, small Benz.
At the time, Jada was doing promo runs for his debut solo album. And in the July 2001 issue of The Source, he stirred the pot even more. He claimed rappers from Philly were biting his style. He said, I take that as criticism, but a whole state got on because of me. Philly's on right now because of me. Everybody's trying to sound like me. I switched it up for the album, but it's the voice anyway. You'll never be able to get the voice. Then came August 7th, 2001. Jadakiss finally dropped his debut studio album, Kiss the Game Goodbye, and things got real. On the track, which featured DMX, both Jada and X sent shots. Jada at Beanie and Jay-Z, and DMX throwing his own shade at Jay. Jada kicked things off by dissing Jay-Z with, Toast y'all cowards, now I know the reason why Pac ain't really like most of y'all cowards.
God, toast y'all cowards, now I know the reason why Pac ain't really like most y'all.
Then he turned his focus to Beanie Sigel, directly referencing Bean's albums The Truth and the Reason with, I give you a reason why I'm the truth for real. From there, he went in, dudes can't F with Kiss, I meanie that. Had to stop eating red meat cause I ate too many Beanie Macs. He kept it going with a line that touched on Beanie's Muslim faith. I'm not one of them dudes, and since you so righteous, don't make me send to Allah quicker.
Can't with Kiss, I meanie that. Had to stop eating red meat cause I ate too many Beanie Macs. Righteous, don't make me send your to Allah quicker.
And he closed with a disrespectful jab that really hit, you just a worker, and your boss is my man. At the same time, Just Blaze confirmed in a Complex interview that another track from that era, It's Time I See You, also had subliminal shots aimed at Rockefeller. Around that same month, August 2001, Russell Simmons tried to play peacemaker. He got Beanie and Jada to meet up at a secret location in Harlem to squash the beef. At first, it seemed like things might calm down, but Beanie wasn't buying it. He called into Philly's Power 99 to set the record straight. He said the beef wasn't squashed, and he wasn't about to let Jada get off a diss without clapping back. Beanie also claimed the meeting in Harlem wasn't even fair. He said Jada pulled up with about 40 people, while he only came with 6. He added that Jada chose to meet at a children's fundraiser in a park but had his crew strapped up, making it clear they weren't there just to talk. Beanie basically said the whole thing felt fake and doubted that Jada had any real intention to end the beef. Not long after that, Rockefeller dropped the mixtape The Empire Strikes Back, and on it was Beanie's full-on diss track aimed at Jada, the Put Your Hands Up freestyle. Beanie hijacked both the title and beat from Jada's own track on Kiss the Game Goodbye and went nuts, mocking Jada's signature intros and tearing into him with raw energy. One of the standout lines was, dude dig this, I'm about to sun kiss like a soda, and make Jay to the moon Mua put his lips on his 9 and really kissed the game goodbye.
I'm about to sun kiss like a soda and make J to the moi. Put his lips on his 9.
Of course, Jadakiss wasn't gonna let that slide. DJ K. Slay dropped his mixtape, Street Sweepers Presents Return of the Jada, and on it was Jada's savage response of Beanie Sigel. What made it wild was that Jada delivered the diss over a disco beat, flipping the vibe while still throwing heavy shots. He rapped, "Yo, when I met you, you was on my dish. Jigga gave you his old Bentley. Now you on some ish, and I don't know where they found you, son. But since your pops ain't around, I'ma punish you and ground you, son." He wrapped it up with, "And dudes can't stand you, Ziegel. Your flow is mine anyway, so don't bite the hand that feeds you."
Can't stand you, Siegel. Your flow is mine anyway, so don't bite the hand that feeds.
Then came October 26, 2001. Jadakiss hit the stage at the annual Powerhouse concert in Philly and decided to get bold. Right in Beanie Siegel's hometown, he freestyled a diss at Beans live on stage. The crowd wasn't having that. The moment Jada threw those bars, the Philly crowd started booing and launching whatever they could at the stage. Jada had to start dodging bottles, trash, whatever they had. Word got back to Beanie Sigel quick. He showed up to the event after Jada had already left, grabbed the mic, and fired back with a freestyle diss of his own.
SKs with triple-digit shots. I empty cans of triple.
Then, in early 2002, Beanie and the rest of State Property were on Rap City, and again Beans used his freestyle time to send shots at Jadakiss. Not long after that, both Beanie and Freeway pulled up to Hot 97, and this time they came for both Nas and Jadakiss in their freestyle, standing strong for Jay-Z, who was still deep in his beef with Nas. Now when Jada heard that Hot 97 freestyle, he was heated, so much so that he admitted he was ready to grab a gun and head up there to deal with it. That's how intense it got. Of course, the Low X weren't gonna sit back either. Styles P jumped on a DJ K. Slay freestyle and fired back at both Beanie and Freeway. After that, it became an all-out back and forth between Rockefeller and the LOX, freestyle after freestyle, track after track. And truthfully, it was starting to feel dangerous. Everyone involved came from the streets, and the way things were escalating, it felt like someone could actually get hurt or worse. But thankfully, it didn't go that route. Eventually, Beanie Sigel and Jadakiss agreed to meet face-to-face at Riverbank Park to squash everything. Jada later said both sides were strapped up, cops were nearby, and you had the Locks, Rough Riders, and State Property all in one place. It could have gone sideways at any moment, but instead of war, Beanie and Jada pulled off to the side to chop it up, and right there they settled the beef. According to Beanie, the reason the meeting happened in the first place was because he and Jada had both been booked for the same show. Neither one of them wanted to back out because of the drama, so they figured they might as well talk it out.
No, I think me and Kiss was on the same show.
Okay.
And it was like, nah, that ain't going down.
So you guys had a conversation?
Yeah, because you gotta look, we at the heat of the You know, normally somebody would be like, gonna do the show.
Jadakiss was still rolling with Rough Riders at the time, and that crew ran deep. Beanie said he brought around 20 or 30 people with him just in case things popped off. But even with that, the Rough Riders outnumbered them heavily. What made the situation even crazier is that Beanie admitted he was a huge fan of the Low X. He told DJ Vlad that he probably liked the LOX more than he liked Jay-Z. But since he was signed to Rockefeller, he ended up beefing with the same guys he respected. Then, fast forward a few years, and the tables turned. Beanie found himself beefing with Jay-Z and cool with Jadakiss. It all went downhill when Beanie caught some serious legal trouble. While he was signed to Rockefeller, Beanie said he always treated it like a family. He held it down for the crew in every way he could, but when he got locked up, facing prison time, he expected that loyalty back, especially from Jay. During his bail hearing, Jay-Z actually showed up to court, which gave Beanie some hope. The judge didn't even want Jay to take the blame for anything. He just needed Jay to vouch for where Beanie would be staying if released. But when the judge asked Jay if he'd take responsibility for that, Jay put his head down and said no.
Would you be willing to be responsible for his whereabouts, not be responsible for my actions, just his whereabouts? And after all that, and he said no.
And just like that, Beanie's shot at freedom vanished. He ended up going back to jail, and he later said that moment crushed him like nothing else. He He really thought Jay was his brother. At the time, Beanie was dealing with an attempted murder charge. He was accused of firing 6 shots at a nightclub bouncer in Philly. On top of that, he had a federal gun case looming. Even though Beanie eventually beat the attempted murder case, he still served 1 year and 1 day in prison for the gun charge. And all the while, he felt like Jay-Z left him out to dry. Around the same time all this was going down, Jay-Z and Dame Dash had their big fallout and Rockefeller Records basically crumbled. The whole label was splitting up, and there was a lot of talk about who was riding with Dame and who was gonna stay loyal to Jay. When Beanie got out of prison, even though Jay had let him down in court, he still chose to stick with Jay. But that loyalty didn't come without tension behind the scenes. Word is, 50 Cent wanted to sign Beanie to G-Unit right after he got out and was offering him around $800,000. But Jay allegedly stepped in and blocked the deal from happening. That move had Beanie heated, and he called Jay out publicly for it. They eventually squashed their beef, but the bond was never quite the same. It wasn't that tight-knit brotherhood from the Rockefeller glory days anymore. Funny enough, when Beanie later decided to open up a food truck, it was Jadakiss who pulled up to show love. Beanie had actually learned how to cook while he was locked up, and by 2024 he turned that into a business, opening a food truck in Philly. Beanie always had respect in the rap world, but he never fully crossed into the mainstream. He still makes music here and there, but in 2014, something happened that really changed his life. He had just dropped his kids off at school in New Jersey when a drive-by went down. The crazy part was that Beanie wasn't even the intended target, but he still got hit twice in the back. The injuries were bad. He lost part of his lung, and when he woke up in the hospital, he was confused, panicking, and ripped out the breathing tube the doctors had put down his throat. That tore up his vocal cords, and he's never sounded the same since. For months, he couldn't even talk. Now his voice is way softer and quieter than it used to be. Luckily, Beanie found new ways to hustle. He's moved past all the old beef and focused on other ventures. Jadakiss, on the other hand, kept elevating after all the drama. He eventually made peace with Jay-Z and even signed with Rockefeller for a bit. In 2016, the LOX got back together and dropped their first album in 16 years. Jada kept his solo grind going too, dropping albums, opening a juice bar with Styles P, and then in 2022, he started a coffee company with his dad and his son. These days, people don't always mention the Beanie versus Jadakiss beef when talking about major rap battles, but real fans know. They went bar for bar, dropping some of the coldest diss tracks ever. And the wildest part is they both made it through without anyone getting hurt. It never got violent, just lyrical warfare. And now, years later, they're both still standing.